when Taffy and Utopia welcomed me, I was just so floored. I just want to say Dankulut na Saima Maasi to Utopia for having me. Before I start, when I was asked to do a keynote speech, I was like, I'm an artist and I don't know if I want to do that typical format, so we're not going to do that tonight. And I want to call on y'all who are witnessing and in the audience to join me in interactive playfulness, as well as honoring the ancestors that we come from tonight. So before I start, I want to honor the indigenous land of the Duwamish peoples and to think about what is our responsibility to this land that we are on and our responsibility to the land that we come from as Indigenous Pasifika people, and how our liberation is connected to Indigenous sovereignty, from Turtle Island to Hawaii to Guahan, Lagua Sangani, the Marianas, Micronesia, Palestine. I want you to remember that we do have a responsibility and relationship to the land. And if you can, give to Real Rent. It goes directly to the Duwamish people. Look it up online. Also, I want to name that tonight is Juneteenth. Today is Juneteenth and Pride Month. And to honor the uprising and movement for Black lives. And as Black trans non-binary writer Estelle Ellison says, Juneteenth is neither a holiday for congratulating white allies, nor is it a day for praising the American government. Juneteenth is a holiday for celebrating the possibility of Black liberation. Juneteenth is a Black celebration of growing abundance and joy. And to remember our transcestor, our Black transcestor, Marsha P. Johnson, who has said, as long as my people don't have their rights across America, there's no reason for celebration. And for us to remember as Pasifika people, as Pasifika queer and trans people, there's no pride for some of us without liberation for all of us. So today I want us to honor all Black lives, Black trans women, Black trans folks, Black queer folks, sex workers, Black disabled folks, Black incarcerated folks, Black immigrants, and Black undocumented folks. And when we honor all Black lives, what does it mean for us as non-Black Pasifika people to redistribute wealth by undoing and challenging anti-Blackness in ourselves and in our communities? It looks like collective solidarity with our Indigenous siblings and for Indigenous sovereignty, and it's tied and bound to Black liberation. So today, if you haven't already, please send reparations and redistribute money and wealth directly to Black trans women and Black trans femmes and Black trans people. And one way you can do that, you can give directly to Washington Black Trans Task Force. You could give to Trans Women of Color Solidarity Network. And if you follow me on Instagram at Tender Virgo Farts, I have a list of Black trans women and femmes, loved ones that you can give to directly. I also want to honor the Pasifika family, our Pasifika family that we have lost during COVID, that we have lost due to gender-based violence, that we have lost through incarceration and state-sanctioned violence, and for the ancestors that we come from. I want to invite folks to call in the ancestors that we want to join us. Call them in your heart or put it in the chat. And remember, we are future ancestors. What will our legacy of love be? So I'm here to shout out and give love to my CHamoru fam, Gumadela. Also representing and loving on my loved ones throughout Micronesia. Thank you so much for having me. And to start, I wanted to offer a chant that I learned from my Chetlu Dakota, which was learned from E Fenalayan, called Nanananahu. And I'm saying this chant to honor all of the lives that I mentioned before, for Black liberation, for Indigenous sovereignty and liberation, and for our own intergenerational healing. Ihaga huginin naga nahanenin na nanenin na nanenin na Ihaga huginin naga nahanenin na nanenin na nanenin na Ihaga taginin naga nanenin na nanenin na nanenin na nanenin na Nigai Ma'asi, Saina Ma'asi, thank you. Thank you to the ancestors. I know that I was introduced formally about who I am, and I want to share more about the process in which my form and how I've been transformed through love with all of you. And I know right now there's so much grief. There's so much grief, and there's so much going on in our communities. And I want to hold a space for us to remember our resilience, the resiliency through love. So as you learned, I am a CHamoru trans, non-binary, in the middle femme, a parent of an 11-year-old child named Elijah. I'm a mixed media artist, a dancer, a community organizer, and a budding abolitionist who learned deeply from and by Cutie BIPOC-led transformative justice and disability justice movements. I'm a queer network program organizer with API Chaya, a co-founding member of the Trans Women of Color Solidarity Network, and a core team member of the Alphabet Alliance of Color. I also am a Pasifika organizer and a member of Gumagela. And I'm also single. Just kidding. No one is ever single. We are all in relation to each other. But you know, when the ancestors say that it's my time, it will be my time. But I want us to remember, when we're thinking about love, it always is in relationship to ourselves, to the land, to the water and the sky. Tanu, Tasi, Zanlenge. And I wanted to just share a little story about love. And the way that I want to do it will be modeled through a poem that I learned from La Espiritista, a loved one in my life, as well as baby anarchists, to be able to talk about what love is and what love means to me. And I think as a queer, Pasifika, trans, non-binary person, love has been inspired and been a force in my life since I was a child. And when I want to talk about love, it's about Gwaidza. That means love in CHamoru, and Finohadza. One story of love is how I've always felt so transformed by love in my queer and trans BIPOC communities, in my Pasifika communities where interdependence and mutual care is practiced. It really taught me how to undo and decolonize the singularity of romantic love, and to know that there are constellations of love. There are multitudes of love that really drive the force of our movement work, of our healing, and is a force to reckon with when we know for generations, our peoples, the people we come from, as Pasifika people, as BIPOC people, as cutie BIPOC people, our ancestors have carried generations and generations of trauma and harm. And I want to say that the ways in which we're healing that is so beautiful. And I witness it through Utopia. I witness it in Gumagela. I witness it in all of my cutie BIPOC work and organizing. I witness it within myself and to my child. I know that our generation and the generations to come are practicing love in so many forms that disrupt intergenerational harm and violence, that are creating legacies of love that will heal our ancestors and the ancestors before them. So I know during this time, there's so much heartbreak. And I also want to call on making space to remember that love exists, that joy exists, that our Black, Indigenous, and people of color in our communities are so deserving and worthy of healing and love. So I just want to close by sharing this short poem and talk to you about what Gwaidza means. And this actually was also inspired by this wheel that I don't think I have time to go through, but shout out to Rowdy. Rowdy and I created it's called the Wheel of CHamoru, and one segment of it is Gwaidza, and to share stories of love. And I am feeling really inspired by that. So thank you, Rowdy. Gwaidza how? Gwaidza is love. Gwaidza is love that is multitudes and takes so many forms in action. Gwaidza is abolishing prisons and defunding the police and investing that money in BIPOC communities. Gwaidza is the revolution and abolition starting at home. Gwaidza is slowing down, pausing and resting, knowing that our work and this movement work means for us to rest. Gwaidza is the disability justice movement and sick and disabled cutie BIPOC that give each other care. Gwaidza is giving our Black trans siblings roses while they are still here. Gwaidza is mutual aid. Gwaidza is collective care. Gwaidza is checking in on your loved ones. Gwaidza is letting your loved ones know when they are causing harm. Gwaidza is creating a safer space to sleep when a loved one is experiencing violence. Gwaidza is honesty, direct communication. Gwaidza is listening, is pausing, is acknowledging when you do cause harm. Gwaidza is apologizing and is self-accountability. Gwaidza is changing your harmful behavior and knowing that we all can cause harm. But what matters is we change our behaviors in order to create repair that is based in love, that is based in connection, that is based in relationship to ourselves and to others. Guaitza is vulnerability. Guaitza is the ancestors we come from. Guaitza is healing intergenerational pain. Guaitza is celebrating joy and love for generations to come. Guaitza is me, and Guaitza is you, and Guaitza is we. Guaitza Hamzu. I love you all. Dankulut Nasizus Ma'asi. Thank you so much.